Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. Andrew here, and today I'm going to show you how to make some really interesting sounding percussion drum sounds with little or no money. Let's go ahead into the logic session. So I have been doing this technique for some time now. I recorded some kitchen samples a while ago with something called a Zoom H4n Pro, which is a pretty fancy handheld recorder. I've also done this with just recording through an iPhone voice memo. So pretty much anything that records audio that you can then get the audio off of the recorder, you could send to yourself, you could bring it into Logic, you could effect it, and then save samples. And what's really cool about doing this is we can do pretty straightforward drums and get an entirely new sound. So unfortunately, I tried to film this all live, but I didn't realize I had stopped filming with one of my key commands. So I'm going to play what I created, and then I'm going to create like another version of it and show you how simple this is. So everything aside from the kick drum and the snare that enter here at the 17th measure were recorded in my kitchen. Here we go. Cool. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll break down what was going on there. So this audio that you see right here is all of these 4 channels bounced in place. So the fundamental, I called this hi-hat-ish open. So anytime I recorded something that I thought like, oh, that could sound like a hi-hat, what kind of hi-hat is it? I would name those samples. So let's unmute these so that we can solo them out. All right, so hearing that sample, let's just solo the drum. So that I'm pretty sure is me like using a knife hitting the side of a plate or hitting the side of a pan. I then again brought it into Logic Pro. I used effects like compression, perhaps some reverb, cutting them into place, exporting them out into a project file. If you're curious if you would like to get your hands on these kitchen samples, let me know in the comments. If I get enough inquiries, I might just put them up on the website. So the next thing I was using, I'm calling cymbal-ish. So that on its own sounds like this. All right, there's a candle holder in the kitchen at the house that I recorded this at, and I believe I'm hitting like a lighter against the candle holder to create that sound. So together that's this. So already it sounds kind of like drums, only they're not drums. Another thing that's kind of cool is that because I'm not a professional sample builder, I made some subtle mistakes. Like I didn't chop the audio exactly in time the way that you might find professional samples that you buy or download. But the cool thing about that is when I put them perfectly in time, they're actually slightly out. That adds to like kind of a human feel of these, goes a long way. All right, the next thing was with a shaker. I had chopped it up, so we're only using a little bit of it. I called this a shaker-ish. This might have been like a dice in a cup. All right, cool. This one I labeled lighter, so it's some sort of sound I made originally with the lighter. It sounds like this. Using that on beat 2 and 4 almost does feel like a backbeat. Puts everything else into place. And then finally, I had this strange fill. The strange fill, I did a lot of like weird things like taking a magazine and crumpling it up. I took a wooden spoon from the kitchen and I went across the wooden blinds and recorded that sound, changing the speed I was moving up and down. And I created this fill together. It sounds like this. Cool. So one of the main techniques that like brings this to life is that if you're using a one-hit sound, even like that fill that isn't like really in time to this, one, we could flex it, we could move it so it hits in time. Two, if you're triggering it in time and the sound is pretty much in time with that, then it's going to work. And in all of these cases, since these are just one hits, it's literally like using a hi-hat sample. It's not a hi-hat. In recent years, we've seen genres that put the word future in front of it, like future bass, future punk, future metal. Like every time I hear the word future attached to a genre of music, I think of like sort of innovative sounds, whether that's in the other instrumentation or in the drums. In future bass, you hear this kind of thing a lot. So I took that all, I bounced it in place. In Logic, the key command's Control B to do that. It then turned it into this audio. We were almost all the way there. Let me mute the samples. I then filtered this. So there's a high cut on the EQ. I'm then opening that up to create this sort of build up, kind of bringing the drums in really subtly in the beginning. And that's how I did that. Then finally, I add a kick and snare. So you could use really strange sounds for kick and snare, and in many contexts that would work. I find that if I'm doing the strange sounds in my cymbals and stuff, I can really like add punch to the mix, tie it all together using a little bit of sampling. So once again, when all that comes in, sounds like this. One subtle mix technique I'm doing, I'm sending both the kitchen percussion and the snare drum to the same reverb bus. That makes it sound like they're occurring in the same room, and that helps to tell our brains that they're not two random things that don't belong together, and makes them sound like they belong together. So I wanted to also make sure I didn't stop recording this time. I also wanted to try to do a fresh one for you. So maybe we write to the chorus just to keep it fresh. Here's the chorus changes. Cool. So let's use some of the same samples we have. I could take the cymbal-ish closed hi-hat one that I was using steady eighth notes, and I could bring in kind of a 16th note pattern. So let me put the eighth notes in here. All right, I could take those and shorten them to half the distance. I'm gonna grab all these fades, remove them. I'll just take that one, and I could do kind of like a 16th note pattern. Create a pattern like that. So like I've said in a bunch of different videos on this channel, all genres of music, whether I'm talking about classical music, jazz music, metal music, punk rock, hip hop, patterns like repetition is in all pieces of music that human beings tend to like. I'm gonna try to think of that I'm not escaping something, but basically if you have one pattern, one measure, like I just did, and if I repeat that, pretty soon our brains are going to think of it as belonging. Something felt out of time there slightly. Looks like right there when I dragged it in, I didn't have it on the downbeat. That should be right. All right, cool. Let's grab we could keep some the same. Let's see what that sounds like with our lighter sound and our fill in time. I did it again. Dropped it out of time. Let's add some development. What if I put that shaker that we only used every once in a while? What if I put that in steady eighth notes? Give some development. Kind of cool. What have we not used? Our main attack symbol. I could do that like, let's say, every 2 measures. Here's that. Now, with that symbol, the bell one, since it's not happening as much, we could put some delay on that. And let's try doing that. I'm getting to the end of this mic stand. I need to repair it. It keeps sliding on me. Been so focused on making bangers that I haven't had time to worry about the mic. So I'm going to put some delay on that hit. We could try a ping pong dotted eighth. The more feedback you have on a delay, the longer it's going to go. If you go past noon here, you're going to start getting a squeal. You can use that creatively. Down here is a filter in this H delay by waves. So I could filter that sound, that delay that's coming out. And that would sound like this. If I wanted it to go longer, again, I increase the feedback. You'll notice that echo goes for longer. Kind of cool longer. All right, now, like I said, what's really going to drive something like this home is kick and snare, giving us that punch and kind of attack we're used to. For fun, I guess we'll add some extra kicks in. Let's hear it out of this. For whatever reason, I kind of feel like that change could be cool if we kind of bring the kick in. Let's get rid of the snare, first 2 measures. Drop the kick the second half. Let's move the percussion over. Copy it, and let's start kind of with some different sounds for it. So it's coming in kind of like... So I've got a lot of ideas with that. This kind of track, I'm definitely envisioning it for a vocalist. So this kind of thing might be weird because I was thinking that was the hook, which we'd probably want to go straight into the 8 or like do just this, go back to a verse, and then do the full one. But we will figure that out. If you found this helpful, you would help me out a ton by subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Once again, my name is Andrew. The channel's Music Theory Logic. I'm focused at helping you with skills that should help you with your music career and music journey, and trying to shed any sort of insight from my own battle in the industry and getting me to where I'm at now. If you want to hear any of my music, I'll link to it below. Go make some interesting percussion. Once again, you chances are, even if you don't have a phone, which is unlikely in the era I'm making this video, if perhaps you have a friend that has an iPhone, if you search voice memo, that's an audio recording app. Go through your kitchen, your classroom, whatever, hit a pencil against a desk, snap, all of a sudden you can use that as a snare. When you do that, instantly our brains are going to think future. It sounds more interesting because it's more interesting sounds doing, again, the same patterns that we find. So thank you for hanging out. Go make some cool futuristic music, and I will see you next time. Cheers.